Most saltwater fly anglers, including myself, have so many fly rods and reels in so many different weights that we can't possibly remember what our collection includes. I was going through my rods last week while planning for an international saltwater fly fishing adventure, and I was trying to select the rods that I was going to take with me. This trip in particular has weight limitations for travel, so I need to really choose my equipment carefully. As usual, my cerebral cortex began analyzing past memories and experiences that I've had and processed the line classes that have been the most useful and versatile to me in my lifetime. It became apparent to me that whether I'm standing up on the bow of a skiff or I'm wading in the tropics, I use one line class more than any other. In fact, it isn't even close. Literally 70% of the time that you see me fly fishing in the salt, a 9 weight is in my hand. So, what exactly is a 9 weight actually good for? Well, in my opinion, it's good for most things. I normally fish bonefish with an 8 weight, but I often switch to a 9 weight when the wind picks up. And when you're on the saltwater flats, the wind's eventually going to pick up. The bonefish are huge or they live near coral. Once again, you're always going to find me fishing them with the 9 weight. If I'm fishing in a place like Hawaii on those pancake flats, you're always going to see me using a 9 weight. I used to use an 8 weight on Louisiana redfish, but I got sick of switching rods when huge black drum or jack showed up. So I just use a 9 weight now to catch everything in the marsh, and that's what I use. Also, if I'm fishing for stripers, my 9 weight always comes out of the rack first. The 9 weight is also perfect for permit, barracuda, and baby tarpon. I've boated countless tarpon from around 10 to 50 pounds on a 9 weight. I also use my 9 weight to pull those big snook out of the mangroves. When you're pulling across a flat or just drifting around in the mangroves and multiple species are available, a 9 weight is really good to have in hand. Many fly anglers refer to the 9 weight as the Grand Slam reel. I have a buddy that has 2 Grand Slams to brag about, and both of those were accomplished with a 9 weight. The versatility of the 9 weight goes well beyond just domestic fly fishing opportunities. The 9 weight is perfect for many exotic fishing locations. Most anglers on Christmas Island, these days they walk around with a 9 weight rod and reel in their hands for bonefish, triggerfish, snappers, bluefin trevally, and small GTs that they come across while walking the flats. The 9 weight is also a fantastic jungle rod, suitable for African tigerfish in the Zambezi River, golden dorado in Bolivian jungles, or huge peacock bass in the Amazon. I even use a 9 weight for barramundi. And the 9 weight is also great for fly fishing in colder climates. It makes an excellent salmon or steelhead rig. And if your bucket list trip is to go travel to Mongolia to fish for taimen, you'll probably have a 9 weight in your hand for that. If you're headed to Canada for northern pike, you'll be holding a 9 weight most of the time as well. You can have one single rod and reel and switch fly lines on it depending on what you're targeting and use one rod for almost everything. This reel right here has had warm water lines on it and cold water lines, floating and sinking lines on it, and lines with probably a dozen different tapers on it. It's literally 20 reels in one. A 9 weight reel is the point where you really need a good, reliable drag system. It has to put enough pressure on a big fish to slow it down and tire it out. But it also has to have the right startup inertia to save lighter tippet so you don't break a lot of fish off. If you're using a 9 weight, you really do expect sizzling prolonged runs into your backing. So the drag system, the dogs, the bearings, the frame, and the spool need to withstand enormous pressure and heat. A 9 weight is the point where you need to spend money on a high quality reel. Don't go cheap on your 9 weight reel. And now let's talk about 9 weight rods, which will be your most difficult and confusing aspect of choosing your 9 weight rig. Every series of fly rods out there has a different feel and action in each individual line weight. You might love the 8-weight Sage R8, but you'll probably hate the same rod in 9 weight. And that goes for most rod series, unfortunately. The perfect rod will also depend on your level of casting proficiency. An experienced caster might love faster actions, where a beginner might want a more forgiving, medium fast action. Unfortunately, it takes a lot of research and trial and error to find the perfect rod for your casting style. And like I explained with 9-weight reels, your 9-weight rod also needs to be a high quality rod. The likelihood of you breaking your rod is a lot higher than breaking your reel. So, make sure you're going to catch big fish on your 9-weight. So make sure you get a good quality rod, and you know how to utilize proper fighting techniques, so you're not high sticking or doing anything that might damage your rod. Whether you're out tossing flies on the saltwater flats, fishing in a jungle, fishing in cold northern waters, or in your local bass pond, a 9-weight setup is going to be the most utilized and versatile setup at your disposal when big, strong fish are part of your plan. When I would travel to faraway saltwater locations, I used to bring an 8-weight, a 10-weight, and a 12-weight with me all the time. But these days, I bring a 9-weight and an 11-weight, and I usually end up using the 9-weight most of the time. The 9-weight is the only fly rod combination out there that's capable of turning over tiny shrimp flies for those little half-pound bonefish in Belize, but also at the same time controlling huge tarpon flies, all with the same line. The 9-weight rod and reel is kind of the 375 H&H of the fly fishing world. It's not ideal for rainbow trout or marlin, but it's pretty damn good for just about everything in between. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video about the 9-weight. And don't forget to subscribe if you like my content, and I hope you do. Thank you for watching, and as always, good fishing.